I'd like to begin with a little bit of a summary of what we've been doing this month and what we've been doing this week. And this is primarily for those of you who might be joining us for the first time this week or the first time ever. In the Spokane Sangha, one of the things that's really unique about our practice is we take Buddhist principles and we study them for an entire month. And I really love this because Buddhism is deep and rich and textured. And so we really want to create an environment where we can look at some of this wisdom from multiple angles. For the month of March, we've been exploring the 8 worldly winds, 8 pairs of opposites that the Buddha and his followers and wise teachers that came after him for centuries and centuries have determined are fundamental causes of suffering. 4 primary pairs of opposites. And what I've been endeavoring to do this week is take each of those pairs of opposites and add synonyms. And so my motivation for adding synonyms and adding nuance to these larger, broader concepts is to really tickle your imagination, to remind your minds and your hearts that we can get pretty fixed on one idea and stick with it, when in fact there are thousands of ways of looking at any one thing. So take, for instance, one of the pairs of opposites as pleasure and pain. If we only think about those 2 words, we're kind of locked in. But if we add some synonyms to pleasure and pain, and maybe something like the words all or nothing, well, that changes the game a little bit. That opens things up for us, and that invites our curiosity. And when we invite curiosity to join the mind and the heart, you know what happens? Wisdom starts to speak. Not my wisdom, yours. Your wisdom starts to speak to you. And that's a powerful thing. A second pair of opposites that we've been exploring this month is blame, praise and blame. Praise and blame. Another has been gain and loss. And this week we've been exploring fame and disgrace. This week, on Wednesday, with our exploration of the wisdom of Shantideva, we had a meditation where Shantideva, in a posture of enormous humility, was reverently washing and anointing Buddhas, statues of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And I bring this forward today as part of our practice of imagine if you could offer yourself the same reverence as a statue of Buddha or a statue of a Bodhisattva. Avalokiteshvara comes to mind, or Chenrezig, who is the Bodhisattva of great compassion in the Tibetan tradition. We have this tendency to look at these statues or to imagine them in our minds as people who achieved great awakening, as if they are people other than who we are. People who have feelings and who cried, people who were babies at one time, people who stubbed their toes, who had indigestion and heartburn, people who got frustrated, maybe were unskillful at times, people who had stinky armpits, people just like you, just like me, that are symbolized in statues. And Shantideva was reverently cleaning them, clothing them, anointing them. And that ritual of washing is a ritual of purifying. And he was doing that enactment. He was engaging in this ritualistic bathing as a way of purifying his own negative habit energy, his own negative afflicted mind. By bathing this statue, whether he was doing it actually, literally or not, is not relevant. The whole point is the fact that he was bathing something, he was washing something. It could be the way you wash your dishes today, or the way you wash your clothes. Rather than just dumping your clothes in the washing machine, take a moment and think about, okay, whatever dirt and filth and smell is on this fabric with some soap and some water and some agitation in my washing machine, that smell and dirt is going to be cleansed. And what if in my intentions I put my own negativity into this fabric and I just recognize, today I was unskillful. Today I had some judgmental thoughts towards so-and-so. Today some regret is bubbling to the surface, ways that I hold a grudge. Today my insecurity and doubt is manifesting as judgment and discursive thoughts about another. And why don't I just add that to my laundry? And with a little soap and a little bit of water and my presence and a little bit of agitation, maybe, just maybe, a little bit of my own afflicted mind will be cleansed. That's how this works. And so then let's apply that now. Let's take that idea of a reverential enactment, a ritualized intention all around cleansing, clothing, anointing. And let's put it in the context of an 8 worldly wind. And let's put it specifically in the context of fame and disgrace. But underneath that, friends, let me give you a new set of synonyms. Today, we're going to bring forward success and failure. Ooh, ooh, yummy, yummy. All righty. And just take a moment. Let's just have a moment of silence. And notice if your habituated mind, where it assigns the dirt that needs to be cleansed and the sweet smelling soapy water, what gets assigned there? It probably comes as no surprise that in our dualistic framing, which is very habitual, we're constantly putting things in either or terms. I'm either squeaky clean and Tide smelling success, or Ugh, I'm a filthy, grimy, greasy, smelly failure. Fascinating. Absolutely true. And utterly not the whole truth. So, let's look at that. Let's open it up. Let's be curious. Like, wow, look at the way I limit what success means as being only the positive, squeaky cleanness. And look at how I treat failure as the icky, disgusting stuff that only deserves to be washed away, flushed down the toilet, put out into a drain field, and forgotten about. Lo and behold, isn't that curiously the way we treat recovery, abstinence, sobriety? Those are the successes. Recurrence, relapse, continued use. Ooh, dirty words. Again, this is totally true and not the whole truth. And the reason why I just want to emphasize this, and I don't want to emphasize it like I'm hitting a nail with a hammer. I really want to emphasize this as if I am using a warm cloth over something beautiful, like maybe one of my houseplants, and I'm just cleaning away the dust, cleaning away, wiping away the distortion, wiping away, opening up so that I'm not so limited. What else is here? So let's play with this. And I'm just going to drop a couple of seeds for your own minds and hearts to play with. But think about success and think about sobriety and think about abstinence. And just think about what lofty, important, beautiful goals those are. But don't forget that for some people, getting to abstinence, getting to sobriety is an instantaneous decision. I'm done. I just decided and we're done. Great for them. What a success story. Hooray. But that's only one success story. What if your success story is that while you're not fully abstinent, you're engaging your habit energy a lot less? Don't forget, that is a success. And if you don't believe me, just think about this for a moment. Think about the person who has totally abstained, but they're kind of an asshole. And you just don't want to be around them because they've done no work whatsoever exploring the causes and the conditions surrounding why they were misusing a substance in the first place. It is great that they've stopped using that substance. Bravo. I don't want to take away any of that success. However, how far-reaching is that success? Have they healed their spirit? Have they healed their capacity to relate to other people? Is their inner landscape still riddled with self-loathing, discouragement, judgment, a lack of passion and creativity. Is that a success? Then think about the person who is struggling. They're showing up to meetings. They've got one habit energy nailed down. It's so great. And they've got another habit energy. Maybe they're still smoking cigarettes or they're using cannabis. And oh, that one is trickier. But they're showing up and they're looking at the causes and conditions and they're shifting their relationship. And so as each month passes, their relationship to those habits is slowly shifting. What a success! Beautiful. Where are you in your success? Now let's take a look at failure. And let's be brave and talk about recurrence and relapse. And let's be bold and talk about how we have a habit energy of judging those recurrences and relapses as utter failure to everything we've done, as if it wiped away all of our efforts. And let's be really, really compassionate and understanding here and recognize that we have judged ourselves harshly for our stumbles and our wobbles, and we have adopted that harshness from the social narrative that frankly is designed to keep us small and limited. And let's remember that recurrences and relapses, there's no need to turn the frown of that experience upside down and try to make it some kind of positive thing. We're not spiritually bypassing here, and we're not going to slather on some toxic positivity for something that's really, really painful and really difficult. But let's at least try to neutralize it so we don't escalate and add to the negativity. So, okay, I've had a recurrence and I feel bad. I don't need to feel worse. I don't need to be governed by the story that says, well, there you go again. Back to square one, you loser. You might as well just give in completely. That's like saying to a 10-year-old, here are the keys to the car. Would you mind driving me around town? Why would you do that? No. Wow, look at all that harshness. Look at it all. Yes, I had a recurrence. Rather than put that harsh glaring light on the recurrence, why don't I turn a gentle gaze toward the conditions? What's been going on for the past several weeks? What have I been thinking about? What can I learn from this pain and difficulty? What can I learn from this disgrace? What can I learn from this failure? I have missed the mark of my own aspiration. What can I learn? What did I not see? Was someone trying to get my attention and I didn't trust them? Maybe distrust is a place to pay attention and practice. Maybe it's a time of year that holds some impressions from old memories. Maybe it's time to sit with those memories in a whole new way, gently, reverently, maybe washing, anointing, clothing, something soft. What do you have to lose? So failure can become the fertile soil to explore the possibilities of awaiting success. That's why this is a wind. It blows through, it's constantly in motion. From success, we're winning, we're doing great, and we're bound to stumble at something because it's impermanent. And so there we are, tossed into the swirl of failure. What does that mean? How can I understand it enough to blow me right back into success again? And as we're learning this, we slowly begin to recognize that the storm of these winds blowing us from one extreme to the other begins to ease and become a refreshing breeze. And we employ that spirit of equanimity, that wisdom of equanimity. So we're not so tossed from one side to the other. And we begin to find our balance, our center, from one place to the other. The harshness eases. The judgments are suspended. The curiosity and the wonder opens. The compassion starts to come forward. And the inner landscape, so bleak and haunted before, becomes a place of rest, reassurance, care. And then, my friends, it radiates out into the world. You're all already examples of it, showing up here, sharing your presence. Energetically, it touches so many lives. Your precious human life is precious because we are invited to simply do a little less harm. I can think of no better expression of peace and love than that. Friends, may your successes keep you brave to stand before your failure, and may your failures amend the soil for the possibility of success to grow. Thank you, friends. Namaste. All right. So we're going to end our practice today with a dedication of merit. And I'd like to share with you a beautiful perspective by John O'Donohue. And I'd like to bring forward a curious word. It's a little bit of an activating word, and I'm bringing it forward on purpose. with great intentionality. I'm going to bring it forward because it speaks to our Western mind and it activates the Western mind, but I'm going to also offer a synonym so that you can begin to maybe tickle and massage and tease the mind open a little bit. So the activating word is sin. Ooh. Yeah. The synonym to sin is habit energy. Okay? So the definition of sin is to be off the mark. The mark is our aspiration. When we engage with habit energy, negative habit energy, we are usually misaligned with our aspiration. That is all it is. John O'Donohue's definition, however, is this, and I quote, "Sin, or habit energy, is woundedness that keeps you stuck and paralyzed in hungry, anxious places. And then poison comes from you that is destructive of others." Habit energy, afflicted mind and heart, is what keeps you stuck and paralyzed in hungry, craving, insatiable, anxious places. And then poison comes from you that is destructive of others. Take a look around. And you can see the many ways that this is true. To heal is to endeavor to be less destructive, 1 degree less destructive, by softening those patterns in our relationship to our habit energy, by unsticking ourselves, and by fearlessly looking at where we get stuck with hunger, hungry ghost, anxiety, and maybe pausing a moment to reverentially, to just with, again, great reverence, approach ourselves with warmth and tenderness, with care and anointing oils. I mean, just for today, put some lotion on, some scented lotion, and rub your hands very gently and know that that act alone is activating the preciousness of your life. And then, with your softened hands, touch someone or something. And may the blessing of you be that far-reaching. Thank you, friends, for your beautiful practice, truly your extraordinary presence here. You are such an inspiration for my practice. I hope you have a beautiful afternoon, and I can't wait to see you again. Namaste.